It's funny when we think that a baby born not even 5 minutes ago can have such a deafeningly strong voice, and yet they are obviously not trained singers and are themselves very weak physically. Yet they do it. And they do it because it's natural for them to do it. That is, of course, until they are fully comfortable walking and then slowly slouch their posture. With every year that goes by unchecked, the perfect breathing that once was so natural and effective becomes unnatural and ineffective. So what does nature tell us about breathing and its application to singing? That a controlled voice starts with a controlled breath. And this is why any relatively good voice instructor will begin the first day of training with an explanation of inhaling, often called diaphragmatic breathing. This breathing technique must actually become part of our lives. And I often remind my students that in voice training, there will be several lifestyle changes that must take place. Let's begin with an explanation of what the diaphragm does and how it affects singing. Now, what we have here is an illustration of a medical syringe. I picked this rather morbid analogy because it is something we're all too familiar with. This device is also very similar to other simple pump and draw machines, such as bicycle pumps. This device only has a few simple parts consisting of a body, a plunger, and a rubber diaphragm. You probably can imagine that if you placed your finger over the opening end of the syringe and pulled back on the plunger, that you would feel suction on your fingertip. The explanation for this is that the rubber diaphragm is sealed airtight against the inner wall of the syringe, and when you pulled back with the plunger, it caused a vacuum or negative pressure inside the syringe's body. Air from the outside world wants to fill in the vacuum, and so it tries to rush into the opening at the front end of the syringe, drawing your skin in with it. This is how it draws blood from your body. It's a simple process, but it is using a lot of physics to achieve it. Now, all of us have experimented with this physical oddity every time we sat down to eat at a restaurant. While waiting patiently for our food, we grab the nearest straw and quickly jab it into the ice-filled glass of water on the table. Now, after skillfully placing our thumb over the top of the plastic tube, we lift it slowly out of the water, and to our expected amazement, the water stays inside the straw. And if you ever wondered, even for a moment, how such a simple plaything can be so complicated, please listen on. You see, the water inside the straw is acting like a diaphragm. After the water settles and finds its own level, it will then completely seal the inside body of the straw to some degree. Because the water has weight, its gravity will cause it to drop down. This then will cause a vacuum inside the tube because my thumb is not letting the air enter in through the top. And because nature abhors a vacuum, the outside air pressure tries to push its way into the straw, which in turn traps the water. This is exactly what stops the water from falling out all over the table. The outside air is pushing against the water inside the straw and trapping it there. As soon as you let go, the vacuum no longer exists, and the water then drains downward. What we have here is a model of our lung system. Now, the clear plastic dome is representing our rib cage. And again, our rib cage is completely airtight. And at the top here, we have an opening, which is representation of our mouth. And inside, you can see our two balloons, which of course are representing our lungs. And at the very bottom, we have a rubber diaphragm. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the diaphragm by pulling on this little handle, and lo and behold, it draws or sucks air into the lungs. Let me do it again. And as you can see, when I release it, the lungs deflate. And this is exactly how our lung system works. Our diaphragm drops down, and when it does, the stomach has to move out of the way. That's why we allow the stomach to drop with it.